Alright guys, today I'm starting on my Sunday dinner, and I'm going to start by getting my seasoning meat right for my greens. And the greens I'm going to be making today are your kale greens. So right here I have my seasoning meat that is already washed off. This is about a half a pound of your smoked ham hock, and then we have a half a pound of your smoked pork neck bones. And then over here we're going to be using also chicken broth. This is about a half of a diced medium onion. I have vinegar, and these are my seasonings. I have seasoning salt, pepper, crushed red pepper, and garlic. And I'll put it down below, or either tell you guys how much I use of that later on when I start adding my seasonings in. So we're going to go ahead and start by getting our meat in the pot. And my hands, of course, they're clean. So go ahead and get that in there. Alright, let me wash my hands really quick. And now I'm going to go ahead and start adding the water in. And I'm going to just add it 2 cups at a time. And what I want to do, well, what you want to do, is get it where that the water is covering at least 2 inches over the meat. Alright, so that's 4 cups so far. Here we go. It's going to be 6. Here we are. It's 8 cups. Oops. And let's see, yeah, this is going to be about, I'm going to go ahead and start off with 10 cups. And you want to have a deeper pot so that you can see in there and gauge where the water is and it won't boil over. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. We're going to get it and turn it on high, and I'm going to let it come to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, I'm going to just reduce it down to medium. So I'll be back once it starts boiling. Alright guys, so I'm back, and this, as you can see, the seasoned meat has came to a rapid boil. So what I'm going to do now is just stir that. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this heat down to 5, which is going to be a medium. I'm going to cover it and let that cook for about an hour, and then I'll come back and check on it. In the meanwhile, I'm going to show you guys how I clean my greens. So we're going to come over here, and these are the kale greens I have. They're small kale greens. I got them from my local organic farmer, so that's pretty much what I'm working with today. And I have 2 bags, as you can see, of the kale greens. And I'm going to start with freshly cleaned sink. So over here on the left of my sink, I have some warm water. And like I said, the sink has been cleaned out on both sides. I have some warm water, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some kosher salt. And I usually just clean my greens with salt, because what it does, it agitates the greens a little bit, and then it also draws like any dirt impurities to the bottom of the sink, so you can see how well your greens are clean. So I put roughly, you can say maybe 3 tablespoons of kosher salt in there. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my greens to this lukewarm water. Alright, so that's 1 bag in. And I'm going to go ahead and do the second bag. Alright, and let me go ahead and throw this away, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I've thrown that away, and I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit more warm water to here, because my sink isn't as full as I want. Add some more warm water. Alright, and that's about good. And then I'm going to go ahead and add maybe, let's see here, roughly about another 2 tablespoons of salt on the top. And what you want to do is you want to get in real good and clean your greens from the top to the bottom. You're going to scrub them against each other. That's what's going to help. And he also cleans these greens before he gives them to us. And if you see any greens, like it may have a couple pieces up there, you can take it, throw it to the side if it's discolored a little bit. But he cleans these actually a few times before. And these are 2 types of of kale that I'm working with. And I don't want to butcher the name, so I just put it in the description. But we definitely just have your regular curly kale, and this kale right here, I know the name of it, I just don't want to say it wrong. But this is usually what you call your dino kale. Pretty much just keep going around washing it, and you can let it soak for a bit also. And then I have over here on the right my sink, which is going to be my rinsing sink, where I'm just going to rinse it in cold water. But I'm not going to do that yet. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just let these soak for a little bit, and then I'm going to come back, do some more washing, and I'm going to show you the rinse. And then we'll probably wash them a couple more times. I may not show that on camera, just depending. It's time consuming. But you guys just pretty much would just wash them until they're clean. And I'll show you guys the bottom of the sink when I rinse it, so you'll pretty much be able to tell. Be right back. Alright guys, so I'm back, and I've let my greens set for a little bit, and I'm just going to show you how I rinse them, which is just basic. On the right side of the sink, I just have just cold water in there, and you're just going to transfer your greens from the sink to the cold water. And you always just want to rinse in cold water. Ahead and get all of these over here. It looks like I'm gonna have to run a little bit more cold water in there. It's perfectly fine. Run that water. I'm gonna let it sit in the cold water. Alright, get that pretty much covered. Alright, so we're going to come back over here, and this is our sink so far, from where we wash the greens in. So you see the water is going to be a little green, of course, because we're washing a green leafy vegetable. And then you see some broken up pieces of kale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this out. And based upon your water, it'll show us at the bottom. See how much more we have to clean on these greens, because the dirt is going to be drawn to the bottom if it is much dirt in there. And particles. So you see it's not really much dirt in these greens. You see just a little bit that did come off, but I'm still going to wash these and repeat this step. I'm going to go ahead and wash them right down. Here. 1 second and get my cloth. Wash this sink out. Wash the sink out while those greens are in the water. Wash that out and wash this off. And so what I'm going to do, and what you will want to do, is just to repeat a few more times until they're as clean as you want. So again, over here with the warm water, and I'll probably just go ahead and repeat this a couple more times with the wash and the rinse until the greens are till my cleanness, which, you know, pretty much all the way clean. So we're gonna do that, and then after I have the greens clean and I do this a couple more times, I'm just gonna set them to the side in these 2 bowls until the seasoning meat is ready. And I'm still gonna show you guys when I check on that in an hour. I'm just gonna go ahead and again just run the water in the side, and you know, I'll just go ahead and cut with them so you guys don't have to see me repeatedly doing the same thing. So pretty much next time I'll be back, you guys will be back when the greens are transferred over here, and it'll be us checking on the seasoning meat in the pot. to see in the hour, which we'll check on that in a little bit to see how that's going so far. It's coming good so far. And I may have to add some water to it. If I do, I'll come back and show you guys. Alright, be back in a bit. Alright guys, so I'm back, and what I'm going to do is I'm checking on my seasoned meat a little bit early. It's like 35 minutes in, and what I'm seeing, it looks like I need to go ahead and add some more water to it, because we started off with 10 cups and we don't want it to get too low. So I'm just going to add a little bit more since we have some more cooking time before our hour is up to check on it again. So I'm adding 2 more cups so far. Alright, 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and do 6. Alright. And then I'm going to go ahead and cover that back up and let it continue to cook, and then we'll check on it in 25 minutes, which should be the total hour. Alright, so while that's cooking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead over here and show you guys what else I'm doing for my Sunday dinner. I'm going to do turkey wings. So I already have them in a bowl, and I'm just going to go ahead and get them cleaned up. And this is how I usually clean up my turkey wings. I have them in a bowl. I'm going to go ahead and put some cold water in the bowl and just cover them in cold water. And you can clean them however you choose. This is just the way that I do it. And just depending on what type of meat it is, I'm going to be using lime today for the turkey wings. Sometimes I use like a cap full of vinegar, which is perfectly fine. So I have the water covering the turkey wings, and I'm going to put in about half a tablespoon of salt, and then I have half a lemon that I cut. So I'm just going to juice that, half a lime, sorry, excuse me. Juice that half a lime in here. And I'm just going to let that sit for a bit, maybe from like 5 to 10 minutes, just to get it all clean. And then what I'll do after it sits for a bit, I'll go ahead and I'll dump this out. I'll take the turkey wings out, pat them dry, and go ahead and get them in my baking dish. And then I'll show you guys how I season them up, and then I get them in the oven. Alright guys, so I'm back, and my greens have been cleaned. They've been transferred to this bowl, and it's been an hour. So what I'm going to do is come over here back to my pot, lid off, and I'm going to go ahead and add some chicken broth in there. And I'm going to do roughly maybe a cup of chicken broth. Alright, so I have the chicken broth in there, and let's see here, I'm going to go ahead and add in my additional seasonings. And like I said earlier, this is like a half of a medium onion. I have a half a tablespoon of seasoned salt. That is 1/4 of a tablespoon of pepper. This is a half a teaspoon of garlic, and then I upped it also with the crushed red peppers. That's going to be a half a tablespoon. So I'm going to go ahead and get that in the pot. Alright, and then I'm going to get my onions in. Set this to the side, and I'm going to give this a little stir. Okay, perfect, and then I'm going to go ahead and start getting our greens in there. Kale. And sometimes you may have to add it in batches. You may have to start adding your kale in there or your greens, let it cook for a few minutes so that they can cook down a little bit, and then go ahead and add another batch in. You can also just press it down as you cook. Because kale is a type of green that takes longer to cook than collard greens, so you want to go ahead and get it in as soon as you can. With collard greens, I would usually just cook my seasoned meat longer, which sometimes I'll cook it up to 6 hours and then cook the collard greens because they don't take as long. But with kale, it can take up to a few hours to cook, just depending on the type. It should work. I don't believe I need a bigger pot, but I may. And if I do, I'll just switch it, but probably not. I just let it cool down for a bit and add the second batch. Alright, start with the second batch. Oops. And you can chop yours up before you cook it. Sometimes I just chop mine afterwards. Just go through and you know, roughly chop it a little bit. And then mind you guys, it also, the water, well, the actual stock looks this high because I still have my seasoned meat in there cooking along with these greens, since they're a type of green that takes a little bit longer. So if I were to take the ham hock out, I would have more space, and it would also need the liquid go down a little bit. Alright, so that's as much as I'm going to add right now, and I'm just going to let it cook down a little bit. I probably won't come back and show me adding the recipes, but like I said, you know, you can use a larger pot, or once the greens cook down, like maybe for a few minutes, it's going to free up some space because they're going to shrink up some, and then you can just add the rest of your greens. And then when I come back, I'm going to already have everything set up, like I said earlier, showing you guys about the turkey wings, and we'll go ahead and get those in the oven. Alright, be back in a few. Alright guys, so I'm back with my turkey wings. They've already been cleaned, like I said earlier. I patted them dry, and this is a baking dish that I greased with some olive oil. And what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and season them up. These are the seasonings I usually use. You can use whatever seasonings you like and just season it to your liking. It just depends on how many turkey wings you have. Today I only have 4 turkey wings, so it may not take as much seasoning as, you know, say if you have 6 or 8, of course. So I'm going to be using seasoning salt. This is going to be Szechuan seasoning, lemon pepper. I have ground pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and this is some smoked paprika, and then we have parsley, and then onions. And then I'm also going to be using some chicken broth over here, which I'll show you guys how to do that to make your own little gravy like. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start. And like I said, you know, you season to your liking. You don't have to put much. You can put more. Just depends on what you like to use. Just going to start with the seasoning salt. Just do a little generous amount, and it also depends on the type of seasonings that you're using. You just want to always check the sodium and salt content of your seasonings and see if you're using a bunch of seasonings with salt in it. Then you may want to go a little lighter, but that just depends, like I said, on your taste. Alright, so get these seasoned up, and then I'm going to move on to my Szechuan, and my Szechuan has salt in it also, so I'm not going to go too heavy on that. I'm going to do a little lemon pepper. Some regular pepper. Excuse me. Some garlic powder. Onion powder, and it doesn't matter if it gets on the actual dish, because I'm gonna mix it up anyhow. And some of the smoked paprika. You can also use regular paprika. And let me do the parsley. And I'm just working right now, actually, because I'm working with raw meat. I have, and I don't want to have to stop and wash my hands, but you would be if you're not using a glove. So I have my one clean hand I'm doing the seasons with, and this is going to be the hand that I'm using to work with the meat. So I'm going to go ahead and flip these over. And then I'm going to season this side also. Again with the seasoned salt, and I'm on to the Sazon. Lemon pepper. And I am going to put flour on this. I may just have mix it around again because I didn't put flour on the other side, and that's what's going to help. Like I said, I'm going to show you guys what helps make a little bit gravy. You can make a little bit of gravy. You can make a lot just depending on how you like your turkey wings. I like mine with not so much gravy, just enough to cover the turkey wings. I'll show you guys that in a few. Onion powder. Parsley. And some paprika. Alright, let me come over here and get my flour. And still using my clean hand. Because the last thing you want to do is cross-contaminate any of your ingredients. And you have to throw a whole batch of flour out. So I'm just putting a little bit of, because you don't want it to be too thick of a coating, but it's just a little bit of coating. Because turkey wings, they're going to make some broth, and also they're going to give off fat. Which we know, well, yeah, which pretty much when you mix flour and fat together, and then broth, it creates gravy. Alright, let me turn back on this side. Alright, just dust that a little bit. Turn back on the side I didn't get. And again, just get this side a decent amount of flour. I didn't use this whole thing, but if you were to measure this, this is like a 2-ounce little container. So I didn't use that whole thing. But like I say, you just look and get it to the consistency that you want. If you want it to, the flour to stick all over it, you can do it that way. Alright. So I have that. I'm gonna just make sure I get this flour coated with the seasoning. Well, the turkey wings coated with the flour and the seasoning. Alright. Perfect. So here. And again with my clean hand, what I'm going to do. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and remove this glove, and then I'll be able to come back. Still going to wash my hands. Alright, and sorry you guys if the light went off a little bit because the way my kitchen is, it's in a corner, so sometimes the light doesn't always come through good. Alright, so my hands are washed and that's pretty much set. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to sprinkle these onions on top. You can use onions, bell peppers, mushrooms, whatever you like. Go ahead and sprinkle those on top. I'm going to take this chicken broth. You can also use turkey broth. I just didn't have any turkey broth, but chicken broth works as well. I'm going to go around the perimeter. Try not to wash the seasonings off of the turkey wings. Let's see here. You can do it this way and then just move it around a little bit. Alright, perfect. And I'll probably put about, let's see here, this is probably about a cup. And like I said, the turkey wings can give off its own broth also. So we'll start with the cup, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more parsley on top of here. And a little more pepper. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I already have my oven, as you can see, is preheated to 325. I'm going to wrap these turkey wings up, pop them in the oven, and I'm going to put a timer on. I usually cook my turkey wings for about 3 hours in total. But I'm just going to start off with an hour and a half. I'll come back and check them and see if they need more broth. Turkey wings are in the oven. Turkey wings are in the oven. And alright, I'll go ahead and set this timer. So about an hour and a half, and I'll be back. Alright guys, so I'm back, and I moved these greens over to this eye. They've been cooking about 2 hours since I put the greens in the pot. And I did taste them off camera, and I did add a little bit of salt. It had more broth than I thought, so I added some more salt to it, but you can just taste it and then just, you know, adjust the seasoning to your taste. So what I am going to do now, because I didn't do it earlier, I'm just going to add a little bit of vinegar. So just not much. That may, right there, that may be like 2 teaspoons of vinegar in there. And I'm going to go ahead and stir that up. And like I said, I did add salt because I did taste it off camera. And it's been cooking for 2, and they're pretty tender. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is reduce it down to low. And I mean, you at this point, if they're to your liking, the texture, you can, you know, always just go ahead and go with it like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and just put it on simmer. I may let it go a little bit more. And we have 15 more minutes on our turkey wings. So we'll check those. I told you guys an hour and a half. We'll check those. And while that's going, I do have my stuffing. Now the stuffing that I'm doing today is like, it's just a no fuss recipe. You know, this is what I do if I want stuffing during the year when it's not holiday time, instead of me going and just doing homemade cornbread stuffing, which I do usually do for family and special occasions and around the holiday. But this is something you can do quick and easy, and you don't have to worry about, you know, making your homemade cornbread and doing all of that. So in this pot, what I have is some hot sausage, and I'm just gonna go ahead. I started sauteing it off camera, so it's pretty much done now. And I used about 3/4 of a pound of that. So what's gonna go in our stuffing is we're gonna have onions, we have bell peppers, we have celery, and here is a 1/4 tablespoon, I'm sorry, 1/4 tablespoon of poultry season, and about 1/8 a tablespoon of your pepper. And in here I have a 1/2 can of cream of celery, and then a 1/2 can of cream of mushroom. And I believe those cans were about your standard, let me just check. They're your standard 10.5 ounces. Okay, and then I have my stuffing right here, which I'm going to use Pepperidge Farm. I have just 3 bags, so they're about like maybe all combined together, because I have partial bags. It's like maybe 3/4 of a bag in total. I have some water. I may end up needing more, and then I have some chicken broth. So let's back to the pot. My sausage is already sauteed. I'm going to go ahead and add my onions. You can put onions in there if you don't like onions. You don't have to put onions. It's just, you know, my preference. I like to add extra veggies in my stuffing. And I'm going to also, see here, move a couple things around. I'm going to go ahead and add the bell peppers and celery in as well. So this chopping board right on the side. And you don't need to add any butter if you don't want to. I don't usually add butter because the sausage has its own fat. So I can just saute the veggies with the sausage and its own fat. And I'm just going to saute these up for a few minutes, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so I have these veggies. They've been sauteing for a few minutes. So what I'm going to go ahead and do next with my stuffing is I'm going to go ahead and add in what I had, the cream of mushroom and the cream of celery, half cans of each. Just going to go ahead and add that into there. Alright, so that's added. I'm going to go ahead and stir that up a little bit. Get everything incorporated with that. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do after I get this incorporated, I'm going to just add the seasonings that I told you guys that I had. The poultry seasoning and the pepper. Just add all of that in there. Alright. Give that a good stir. And then what I'm going to go with next is my chicken broth. Just going to start with a little bit of chicken broth. Let's see here. I think I have in here probably left half of it. So you're looking at maybe 2 cups left in, but I'm just going to start with a little. I'm not going to use all of it. And then I'm going to go in with about, I have a cup of water here. I'm going to go in, I'm just going to use about half of that. Alright. And then you're just going to pretty much wait until this comes to a boil or a light simmer. Just till it bubbles up some. And the reason why I started off with less broth and less water is because once you add your stuffing in and you get it cooking in the pot a little bit, you can always add more until it's the consistency that you're looking for before you transfer it to a pan, which I'm going to do because this stuffing gets baked. I started on the stove and then I put it in a baking dish and then I finish it off in the oven. So I'm just going to wait till this comes up a little bit and then I'll show you guys that, me adding the stuffing and cooking it down just a little bit. And by that time, it should be time for us to check those turkey wings that's been in there. Be back. Alright, so I'm back, you guys, and look here, it's came, everything in the pot has came to a simmer. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start adding the stuffing in. 1 partial bag. Second partial bag. And the 3rd partial bag. I'm going to go ahead and throw these away. Alright, so all the bags are added. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start incorporating the liquid portion with the dry stuffing, the dry mix. And like I said, this is going to be a part you're just going to have to eyeball it. It's just going to be to your consistency, because with it being, you know, dry bread, it's going to soak up a lot, which we can always add more in. More chicken broth, more water, if you want more cream of celery, mushroom, however you like. And I'm going to go ahead for this, I'm going to add in some more chicken broth because I can see right now it needs some more. Alright, so that's about another half a cup. And I already put in about a cup earlier. Alright, make sure it's well mixed. Perfect. It's looking good. It's coming along good. For me, I'm just gonna make it, put a little bit more liquid in there because I know, and that's the timer for the turkey wings, and we're about to check that in a little bit. So I'm gonna just go ahead with some more chicken broth. I'm just gonna go ahead and put all of it. Like I showed you guys when I started, I had in here probably half left, which is 32 ounce, so that means 16 ounces, 2 cups left. So it was about 2 cups of chicken broth. Alright, and my eye is still on because I wanted to cook just a little bit so it can soak up all that goodness that we put in there, the seasonings and everything. I'm just going to let that sit for a bit. Let that sit. And then we're going to go ahead and check on these turkey wings and see what's up with that. Alright, let's see here. Be careful because that steam can really get to you when you're cooking. Oh wow, this looks delicious. Really good. And like I told you guys, it just depends on how much gravy you want. I use a decent amount of flour, but not so much broth because I don't care for my turkey wings to be drowned in a lot of gravy. So you just want to stir around the bottom of those. Make sure nothing's sticking because that flour can definitely make it stick. And I'm just going to go ahead and ladle some more broth over here. And like I said, I usually cook mine 3 hours. It's only been an hour and a half. Alright, perfect. And then what I forgot to tell you guys earlier is that I do add bay leaves to mine. I love the flavor that it gives. Of course, you take them off once everything is done. But I add like a couple of bay leaves in there. Oh, maybe one more. A few. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and cover this back up. Turn it to the opposite side. Because you want to rotate while you're cooking. Because sometimes it's a little bit more heat at the front or either the back. And you don't want, just a certain side of the meat getting more heat. So I'm going to cover that back up. I put it back in the oven. It's still at 325. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn it up. We're going to bake this last part at 350. So I'm going to do 350 for another hour and a half. But at the last 30 minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'll probably uncover it. And then bake it uncovered for the last 30 minutes. So our stuffing is good to go. And I'm just going to transfer the stuffing over here just to a dish. And I'm just going to let it sit. You can grease the bottom of the dish just to make sure it doesn't stick. And once it's transferred, I'll probably just let it sit and put the stuffing in the oven. Try to time it up with the time that the turkey wings are going to be done so it all can be coming out together. Alright, so I'll see you guys back in a few. Alright guys, I'm back. And so at the looks of the time, we have 30 minutes left on the turkey wings. So what I'm going to do now is check on those and then uncover those. Alright. Wow, it smells good in here. Oh, those are cooking up. It smells delicious. Alright, so they're good. I'm just going to scoop some of this broth and gravy from the bottom. Cover those up. Like I said, for the last 30 minutes, we're going to really just cook these uncovered so they can get a nice texture on top of the turkey wings. But they're tender. Oh, wow. They're very tender. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move these to the top shelf while they cook uncovered. And then I have my stuffing I did earlier. I already put it in the pan. It's greased. And that's going to go at the bottom shelf. So that's going to go ahead and cook up with the turkey wings. And we'll check out my stuffing. It shouldn't take any more than 30 minutes for your stuffing since we cooked it on the stove. And then we transfer it to the oven. So I'm going to let that go for the last 30 minutes. And when I come back, we should be ready to pretty much plate. Alright, you guys. I'm behind the camera now. And my lighting is going because I was using natural light. Like I told you guys, my kitchen is small and I don't have that much light. But anyways, the sun's pretty much going down. So this right here is the stuffing after I finished. I did let it go for like an extra 15 minutes. And these are the turkey wings. And I'm telling you guys, like, listen, it looks delicious. If you want more gravy, like I told you in the beginning, just do more broth and then do like a little bit more flour. And these are the greens. And I'm going to come back. Oh, that fell. I'm going to pretty much come back after I take this video and my camera person is back, so I can at least, you know, make a plate or show you guys the plate after it's made. But this right here is that ham hock that's pretty much cooked and it's broken apart. But we have the greens and we have the turkey wings, and then we have the stuffing. I'm gonna have that all plated up, like I said, once my camera person comes back. Alright guys, I'm back. Everything is done. Like I showed you guys before, I'm just going to go ahead and make a plate here so you guys can see. And with the stuffing, I usually just cut it in squares, but I mean, you can dish it out with a spoon, however you like. And I did let the stuffing rest for a bit because you don't want to be too loose on you. But I mean, baking it at the temperature and the time I told you, it wouldn't be loose. So we're going to do a turkey wing. Oh man, I mean, I wish you guys had smell-o-vision because this smells delicious. You put a little bit more onions and the broth up there. Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and set this down while I go ahead and get my bowl. I'm gonna put my greens, kale greens, in a bowl. And I'm telling you guys, like I said, you know, the time that I cooked it, if you want to cook it a little longer, a little shorter, it doesn't matter. They're tender. Like, these are tender kale greens. So I'm just going to put some in the bowl. And you can put, I mean, sometimes people want bread with it. I didn't have time today to do, like, cornbread or anything of that sort because I was back and forth studying for a test and also writing a paper. But if you want to do like any of what we call down here and down south pot liquor, you put your pot liquor in there with the greens. And I'll go ahead and set it right here. And let me move back over here for the light. And that's the thumbnail, you guys. Turkey wings, quick stuffing, no fuss, and some kale greens.